What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Prime Sports World here with another edition of College Football Showdown. I'm your host, Israel Rivera. I'm not sure everybody. I think I was kind of going on there without anybody even seeing me there. Anyways, go ahead, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World for College Football Showdown. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, and there goes my main man, Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz.blog. What's going on, everybody?
Oh man.
Gotta hit him with the applause, you know?
Yeah,
Hit him again, yeah, hit him again. Gotta hit him again. Let's go.
Look,
Anyway.
it's the last time we were on the radio together, we got a little rowdy. You know that?
Oh yeah, no, we're not. I'm testing sounds out here. I'm testing.
There we go. But nah, man, college football playoff is winding down. We're down to 4, and by Friday night, we'll have a national championship.
Yeah, man. It's been football has just gone by so fast this year.
It really has.
We're already almost we're in the NFL playoffs. We're in the semifinals of college football.
Yeah.
And shoot, in a couple weeks this thing would be wrapped up. On the 19th or so, in about 10 after tomorrow, about 11 days. So I mean,
but you know what? It's all good because we coming back next year, baby. That's
yeah, we come back next year hard as always.
Always.
I kind of wanted to start the show a little bit there, with the state of the transfer portal. This is a request by TJ to talk about DeMond Williams, signing a contract with Washington, $4 million contract, and then all of a sudden overnight flips and says he's going into the transfer portal. We're all assuming LSU is involved, right? He'll be the front runner. I guess LSU probably offered him a lot more money than $4 million. This is where we're at in the transfer portal, ladies and gentlemen. The other night, we're at an LSU game with Lane Kiffin and Sam Levitt there, like he's an NFL free agent. It's pretty harsh. I think I talked about it with like the MAC schools, right? The smaller schools. NIU, for example, just got gutted in the transfer portal. I mean, deaf to the small schools. They can't even compete. They get a good quarterback. He does well. It's over with. He's going somewhere big. Can you imagine like for example, Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah.
For example, Miami, Ohio. Was great quarterback for the MAC. I mean, after maybe his junior year, so he's probably going to play for, LSU or something. You know what I mean? Like instead of seeing him play in the MAC, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, playing for Eastern Illinois. No, he would have transferred. He would have transferred his ass off, right, to Oklahoma or Illinois or somewhere wherever he can. We have to. I think it's getting to a point where there's going to have to be rules and regulations. I think that we need to go back to guys sitting out a year when they want to transfer like this. Like you get one transfer, that's cool. But if you transfer again, you got to sit out a year. Thoughts on this DeMond Williams situation? Because, they held – they're buying him by contract. Washington saying, we're not going to help you get into the portal because you signed this contract.
Yeah.
And we're gonna sue your ass. And that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, look, I know a lot of people wanted to see these young men get paid. And this is the one thing that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the one thing that unfortunately comes with it. I just look at the transfer portal as a whole. And most importantly, I look at like the older coaches, like the Nick Sabans and, even though it's a different sport, I look at like the Coach K's in college basketball, Roy Williams, college basketball, like all those older guys, they wanted no part of of college sports now because it's become a business, unfortunately. But then again, money talks. So they had to know that the financial aspect was going to come with the sport. You just have to learn how to adapt with the game. And I don't think these older coaches were looking to do that. As far as what's going on with Damon and Washington, yeah, this is to be expected. I don't think he's going to be the first to go through something like this, and he won't be the last to go through something like this.
Something similar, happened last year with Wisconsin's, I think, DB that Xavier Lucas that transferred over to Miami. Wisconsin actually is suing Miami. That's still kind of in court right now. They're suing Miami, saying that they tampered with their player like mid-season to get him to go to Miami right away. I mean, this could open up Pandora's box. I mean, aren't if we're legally binded by certain contracts, right? Especially in college football, millions of dollars are tied to it. I mean, if we're not going to respect the language in the contracts, or we're not going to respect the contracts, then what are they going to be there in place for, right? So, I think this is just a kind of going to be a domino effect where the NCAA has to. I mean, and it's worse in college basketball, way worse.
Oh, definitely, because Izzy, how many of the iconic coaches in college basketball have we seen just up and retire? Jay Wright was a pretty damn good coach. He wanted no part to do with NIL.
Yeah, I mean, college basketball is just a whole different animal. We could talk about that for
another time.
Yeah, but college football is just as bad. And I think the NCAA has to step in. I mean, they are so frightened. The NCAA, multi-billion-dollar. I mean, they've been doing this for years. I mean, they are so frightened. They do not know how to They don't know how to, and I won't say outlaw, but they don't know how to, put laws in place. They don't know how to govern this. You know what I mean? Like they are lost in the sauce. This is getting to be the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Like I said, I talked about smaller schools not being able to compete. I mean, yeah, you're going to get a one-off, Tulane, James Madison. How many of those guys are gone next year to bigger programs? Florida, Texas. I mean, we all talked about it. There should be probably 2 national champions, right? There should be a national championship for the Group of 5, and there should be a national championship for the Power 4. And that's just only fair because of the era we're in.
Yeah,
where guys are transferring left and right, from smaller schools to bigger schools. So, it is what it is. But we'll see in the upcoming days. I think if you're gonna put a blame on anybody, who's to blame?
Wow, that's a loaded question. If there's a blame, I don't want to say the university. I don't want to say. I really don't know who to point the finger at, Izzy, if I'm being real. I mean, I just think maybe you point the finger at all parties involved. Let's just admit it. College sports, especially the sport we break down, analyze, and love, college football, it's not what it was. Like what we see on the field, that hasn't changed, but off the field, I think is where it's becoming a lot more controversial. That's the one word I can use to describe it. But I don't know if I can necessarily blame someone, man, but it's a controversial time. That's the best way to describe it.
Man, I gotta blame everybody. The institutions, I gotta blame the coaches, the adults that are in these kids' ear, like telling them to just take the money here left and right. There's no development in college football. You see how bad quarterback play coming into the pros is now these days. I mean, I look at a guy like I saw like Riley Leonard last week. He looked really good against with Houston. Against Houston with Indianapolis. And I gotta say, Riley Leonard, what did he do? for 3-4 years. He was at Duke, developed under what's his name, Mike Elko. And I was going to say somebody else, but Mike Elko, and then went to Notre Dame and played a major part in them going to national championship. And he looks like a polished QB, professional QB. You look at Cam Ward. I mean, obviously Cam Ward is polished. All right, look at Shador, right? I mean, but you look at some of these other guys. I mean, they're coming into the league. They've been to 3 or 4 schools. They're not developed at all. And it's a sad sight. And when I look at hopefully this quarterback class that comes out, you guys will start to see what we're talking about. Because they're going to be guys that are high up on there. I'm not saying like Mendoza. I think Mendoza is going to be great. I think maybe Dante Moore is going to be great. But I mean, there are going to be guys that had transferred, 2-3 years. I mean, think about this, DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he was a top recruit. He had the world in his hands. He transferred 4 schools, 3 or 4 schools, goes to the NFL. I mean, he has all the size, everything you need, right? But he never developed with one school. You know what I mean? And I blame like the schools, I blame the coaches for, because we're in this NIL era, this transfer portal era, where it's like they're quick to give up on guys. Oh, you don't work out? Oh, we want to bring in somebody else. It is legit the minor league of professional. It's always been a minor league system, the college football system, but it is now legit a minor league system. We talked about development football, spring football, the UFL. David and TJ cover it all the time, right? And we thought maybe that was like something like spring football is like something the development league, and it still is, right? For guys that don't get drafted, for guys that are looking like that are from D2 schools or D3 schools or whatever the case is, that are talented enough to play at that level of football. Those guys can develop. They get a lot of good tape. You get scouts coming out to those games. It's on national TV every weekend, and you get a big spotlight on you. And if you play well, we've seen UFL guys, XFL, they go into the league and they play, they get contracts, right? And I think that's a great system. But this right here is out of the realm of, I mean, there is no governing this. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's tasteless, it's classless, in my opinion, and they need to rectify this pretty soon, because I mean, you see. Going into the NFL, I mean, it's the product of of some of these players has dwindled down. The development of some of these players. I mean, yeah, of course they're athletic, of course they're big, of course they're fast, but the developmental skills, especially like playing the quarterback position, like you see more game managers now in the league than game changers. In my opinion,
couldn't agree.
You know what I mean? You see guys that have DBs that have lack of football IQ because they don't have the technique. They didn't develop in college. They went to 3 or 4 schools, 2 or 3 schools. They didn't develop with one DB coach that trusted them, that believed in them, that they didn't hone in on their skills. And when they were getting taught by 3 or 4 different people in their college experience. So it's can I say this? I'm gonna say this. It's a shit show.
You're not wrong.
It's a shit show out here. Shit show. That's all I gotta say.
Listen, you gonna love these sound bites, ain't you?
Moving on to the quarterfinal headlines. Man, last week was something else. And I will say something else is an understatement. We'll start with the first one as the defending national champ. The reigning defending national champ Ohio State goes down 24-14 to Miami. And what are your 3 favorite letters in the alphabet, Christian?
BTA.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's very simple. That was a classic BT. I don't even think, honestly, watching that game, I don't even think Ohio State even had a chance from the get-go. Miami was up 14, nothing. Going into into the half. Carson Beck, game manager, he's 19-26, 138 yards, 1 touchdown. Mark Fletcher, 90 yards, 19 carries for 90 yards, no touchdowns. Jamar Brown had the lone touchdown. But it was the defense for Miami that really stood out. Akeem Messidor had 2 sacks. Ruben Bain had a sack. They had 5 sacks as a team against Ohio State. I don't even know how many pressures they had, but I know they had a bunch of pressures. They had 2 interceptions, one that was returned for a touchdown by Keontae Scott on a beautifully timed pick in the first half off a bubble screen. And then on the other side, the only person that came to show up was Jeremiah Smith for 7 catches, 157 yards, and a touchdown. Christian.
Yeah. You got, I tip my cap to the Miami Hurricanes because they've come into this playoff and they've been tone setters. You saw what they did against Texas A&M, containing Marcel Reed, not letting KC Concepcion get in the open field and make plays. And to me, I saw Miami. They studied film. They pretty much did what Indiana did, but added their own flair to it. That defense really set the tone. The offensive line also dominated the line of scrimmage. And when we think of Miami Hurricanes football, Izzy, what do we think about? We think about a team that's flashy, athletic, and just having that prowess to outscore and outperform people. So meaning they're turning games into track meets. What I've seen so far in these playoffs, they've turned games into dogfights. Look, we can play mean, we can get nasty, we can play with a physical streak, we can play downhill. And you mentioned it best, Ruben Bain, who I've been raving about with you all season long. And we're gonna hear his name on Sundays. And I look at the other guy, Akeem Messidor, as well. And do you know who they're learning from? Jason Taylor, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and his fingerprints are all over these 2 young men. Just the overall great performance. The U, when the U is back, I just think that invigorates the entire sport of college football. Ohio State, they got 2 physical tests to close out the year. The game against Indiana and then this game against the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, and I think moving forward, I think Miami, obviously, in the semifinal, they got Ole Miss. I think they have the easiest kind of pathway to get to the national championship, even though, they got a big test coming up. We'll talk about it with Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss. But I think Miami's looking pretty well set to possibly, if I had to, pick, out of all the teams, in my opinion, Miami and I would say Ole Miss, right? Because both of those teams have, and I don't want to say that Miami's an easy team by any stretch. I think they have the 2 X factors that none of these teams have. And that's 2 elite pass rushers on either side. And we saw against Ohio State, they put them on the same side at times, right? Yeah. And they'll run a stunt and they'll really confuse guards and tackles. And you run Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor on one side.
That's scary.
That's scary.
That's scary. Look, Izzy, yeah. I'm a former defensive end, and I've never had the guy playing alongside me on the other side of the defensive line up on the same side as me. That's just scary. You, like you said, you can stunt with one guy, then you can loop the other around, and that contains the pocket. And look, Julian Sayin had no time to throw this football. None. No. And I love how Miami also put clamps down on the running game.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Bo Jackson really couldn't get it going at all in this game. And hey, man, congratulations to Miami. Everybody kind of doubted them, Notre Dame faithful, and everybody thought that, this team was, shouldn't have been. It was not Notre Dame faithful. Notre Dame faithful thought they should have been in, but a lot of other teams, like, is this team going to be worthy? Is this team going to play well? They're going to go up against Texas A&M in the first round. They kind of stumbled in the second half. They were great in the first half, stumbled in the second half. But this team is actually peaking and playing its best football at the right time, which is what you want to see in a football team at this time of the season. Next game, next game we got on the slate, we have the number 1 Indiana Hoosiers. As now, look, This is a real BTA right here.
Mm-hmm.
Real BTA right here. They routed Alabama, the great SEC power, 38-3, and this game wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't.
As Indiana just controlled every aspect of this game. They were running the football. They were getting everywhere they wanted to do on defense. They were able to stop Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson just wasn't healthy at all. He's 12 of 16, 67 yards. He had to actually get replaced mid-game in the second half with Austin Mack, who was 11 of 16, 103. And I actually was a little impressed with Austin Mack. He was flinging darts out there. I honestly think if they felt like Ty Simpson couldn't go, and I understand you got to roll with your guys, but if Austin Mack was flinging darts out there like that, shit, I would have tried to get him rolling earlier than what they did. Especially like after like the first quarter or something. Once I saw Ty Simpson really couldn't move the ball down the field, but they couldn't get the ground game going either. 23 yards. Indiana was just all over. 215 yards. They ran that football 50 times for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was really the X factor of the game because they were able to, 1, control time of possession. They were to 2, keep Alabama's defense on the field, and they were to wear down Alabama's defense to keep Alabama's offense off the field. And when Alabama's offense got on the field, they were able to hold them to 3 and outs, short drives. They really couldn't get any continuity or any consistency against Indiana. And this was just a well-coached game by Kirk Cignetti, and Indiana just showed why they're the best team in the nation, man.
Yeah, they're clicking on all cylinders, and every time you need them to pass the test, they pass it with flying colors. Went to Autzen, handle business against the Oregon Ducks, right, in October. Mm-hmm. Go to the Big Ten championship game. The almighty Ohio State. This kind of had a David versus Goliath type of feel to it. Passed that test with flying colors. But what they did to Alabama needs to be criminally studied because you just talk about dominating the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. Izzy, this is the most complete and most physical team in college football. They're well coached. And look at how efficient Fernando Mendoza was. 14 of 16, 192 yards passing, and 3 touchdown passes. They didn't need him to take this game over. They just needed him to kind of control things. And he did just that. The defense handled the rest. They were able to run the football, spread the ball around to Elijah Surratt, and Omar Cooper and Charlie Becker as well. Yeah, this Indiana team, like they've done it all year, and now look at where they are. They're in the round of 4, a game away from playing for the Natty.
One thing I did, notice, and this is like just Fernando Mendoza was on another level.
Yeah,
it's like Alabama was getting to him, right? They were rushing forward, they were blitzing. And they were getting to him, and Fernando Mendoza was able to elude pressure in the pocket, outside of the pocket, get scrambles for key yards. He barely got hit. His jersey was super clean all game long, and he was able, like you said, he was super accurate, 14 to 16. He was getting the ball out of his hands quickly to the right person. He was clicking on all cylinders, and it's just the little plays that he was doing that were frustrating Alabama, that were momentum killers, where Alabama will get them in third down situations, and Fernando Mendoza will get a key, rush for a first down, or Fernando Mendoza get the ball out and find the right guy in the zone, right? Hats off to him on how well he played in that game, because he was another X factor. And I want to give a big shout out, big shout out. Where's my applause here? I want to give a big shout out to the offensive line, because my God, they were leaning on. I would have never thought I would say this in a million years, at least in my lifetime. We're saying Indiana's offensive line was more physical than an Alabama defensive line. Christian, let me ask you, is this the worst that you have seen an Alabama team play?
This is up there with the loss last season in Norman to Oklahoma. It was a piss poor performance. Guys just not showing up. No physicality whatsoever. not getting off the field, just struggling. And you said it best. What's the best way to neutralize a pass rush, Izzy? You get rid of the ball quickly, and that's exactly what Fernando Mendoza did. The pass rush can't get home if the ball is out your hands already. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Alabama, they were punked. They were bullied, and they just ran into a better team. And Kurt Signetti just coached circles throughout this football around Kalen DeBoer. I mean, he coached him. Wow.
I think Alabama faithful, because they invested some money into Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Alabama faithful, they're giving him one more year. Like, you legit have one more season, and I mean, I think next year is Alabama has to get to the national championship, or you're fired.
Oh, you think you think he's on a hot seat entering?
Oh, he's definitely on a hot seat.
Yeah,
he's definitely on a hot seat. He may get if they have poor performances down the stretch like they did. I mean, and I know regular season, I mean, they played really well, like mid the second half of the season. I mean, look, SEC championship game, Christian, terrible, piss poor, awful. College football quarterfinal, awful. It seemed like that when they go against an elite team that is like a little like at their level or a little bit better, they don't rise to the occasion. They fall off and they close off like they give up. They lay down like a dog. And and that is indicative of your head coach. If your head coach, and I know Kalen DeBoer is probably not gonna like what I say, but I just don't think he has his guys ready and prepared. I just don't think mentally he's the right. I don't think he is the right coach for this for Alabama.
So let me ask you.
I think that there's other coaches that can coach Alabama harder than this.
So let me ask you. We're hypothetically in 2027 right now, right? Kalen DeBoer is potentially out of a job.
He gone. He out of there.
Who's the guy? Who do you see going to Tuscaloosa? Because I got a name in mind, but I want to see what you say.
Oh, well, there's well, you might not like this, but Alabama is like the creme de la creme. That is a job that you leave other really, really, really good jobs for.
Absolutely.
Like, you get to Alabama, that is like I'm at the top of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Right. We all know Bear Bryant set that precedent, and we're at the top of the top. You're at Alabama. You are at the top of everybody. I could see Kirby Smart leaving Georgia for Alabama easily. And that's just because. And I know Kirby's built something there at Georgia. I know it's excellent, but if Alabama says that we're going to offer you a $1 million, I mean, look at Nick Saban. He won a national championship at LSU.
And then left
LSU to go to Alabama. Lane Kiffin would for sure do that. I mean, Lane Kiffin will do that in a heartbeat. I mean, to say the word, Lane's over there. I don't think Lane has the right temperament for Alabama. But a guy like Kirby Smart, is a guy that I think. I mean, another guy, and I don't think that he's because he's such a Louisiana guy. Ed Orgeron.
He's
a little older.
There's a name I'm thinking because he's young, and I think he would kind of bring the right energy to this program. And I know it might be a long shot, but why not somebody like Marcus Freeman? Why not?
Well, if Marcus Freeman, so that's interesting. I would hate to see Marcus go, but let me tell you something. If Marcus Freeman took that Alabama job, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Alabama would be back at the top. And I'm not saying that because he coaches Notre Dame. He's next to Kirby Smart. I would say he's even better than Kirby Smart at recruiting. And that dude right there, he is young. He can relate to his players.
Absolutely.
Nonsense. He will get in your ass. And he is a great motivator of a coach. That is an excellent hire for Alabama. I just would hate to see that as a Notre Dame fan. I would hate to see Marcus Freeman go. But that is an excellent hire if they can pull that one off. If they can pull that one off, I mean, not many coaches golly. The only reason I see only reason Brian Kelly left for LSU was because he couldn't handle the pressure of kept falling short at Notre Dame, and the boosters kept getting on him about it. He's that overwhelming pressure of you got to get to the national. Like you got the two of them, and you lost both of them, and you keep getting there, but you ain't winning. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let me go to LSU and see if the pressure is going to alleviate off my back a little bit more. And he found out that LSU got high standards too, brother. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's that would be an incredible hire. I don't know anybody else out there other than maybe those two guys. Marcus Freeman's great. Maybe an Alabama alum. I don't really see any Alabama alums out there. Maybe I got another name.
Let me hear it.
I got a name.
Oh,
he just got fired by the Baltimore Ravens.
You talking Johnny? You talking Johnny?
I'm talking Johnny Harbaugh, baby.
Yeah,
I'm talking Johnny Harbaugh.
Look,
he would be excellent there, I think.
Yeah, I think he would be great at any level. I mean, I thought John was a phenomenal coach, and I think he got the short end of the stick. He's gonna have a job by next week, at the latest. I say by next week.
He'll be coaching the NFL, and there's too many teams out there that need a coaching vacancy.
But I could see him college, or if I don't see him getting a job.
And he takes a year off, yeah.
No, you know what I think he's gonna do? I think Jim is gonna hire him in LA for a year, kind of let him be like a consultant of some sorts, and then he gets back into it because he's gonna be highly sought out. He is the top coaching candidate right now out of everybody on the market in the NFL. But college, he's a disciplinarian. He's a little older. I think he would get the best out of any team he takes a job with. But in order to be a great head coach, I think what makes it work is the head coach and what staff does he hire around
Dabo.
Him? Man, Dabo's losing his swagger to me, is he? Let's just be real.
I just think he finds it. I think it's hard for him to recruit at Clemson now these days.
No, he doesn't. NIL, he's another one that doesn't like NIL.
Yeah. It's like you got to get with the program when it comes down to it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just think Alabama is going to go a different direction at some point. And I think next year is championship or bust for Kalen DeBoer. I don't think Alabama Fayetteville can take another year of this type of poor performance by an Alabama team. This is not Alabama football. That was not Alabama football. And yeah, they're gonna have to change something around at that program. Next game we got on the slate, we got Oregon shutting out Texas Tech in the Capital One Orange Bowl, and this one was a shutout, complete game shutout for the Oregon Ducks as they win 23-0 against Texas Tech. And just to kind of sum this game up here, Oregon, obviously the better team on the field. But I just think that Texas Tech just playing in the Big 12, playing a weaker Big 12 and going up against a proven Oregon team with better talent really showed Texas Tech where they are and where they need to be by next year.
Yeah. This was the best I've seen Oregon look under Dan Lanning ever. I mean, from just how they control things offensively, they can run the ball with Noah Whittington. Dante Moore was in control. Yeah, I know he turned the ball over, I think, a time or two, but other than that, this defense really set the tone. And coming into the game, I even remember telling you that this was going to be the most talented team that Texas Tech had faced all year long. And look, they're good, but Oregon showed them it's levels.
Levels to it,
yeah. And I mean, you gotta give Oregon all the credit in the world. They came in, had the perfect game plan, because if you watched anything with Texas Tech this year? What's the one common denominator in all of their games? Baron Morton had all the time in the world to throw. There were times when I saw Oregon just getting home with 3, keeping a spy in the middle of the field, and then that secondary is playing back in coverage off the ball. Those wide receivers couldn't create separation. They bottled up Cameron Dickey. I mean, look, this was a great all around performance for Oregon. Huge win, tone setting win, and now look at where it has them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, I think Texas Tech they have a ton of like wealthy boosters. They will buy a national championship contending team. Just wasn't this season, but at some point, Texas Tech will. They I think a lot of those guys are looking at, okay, this is what we need to be like getting to the semifinals and to have a chance to win the national championship. We have to get speed all over the field, especially at the offensive end, and we have to get linemen that are big physical linemen that can block fast physical edges. And that's exactly what Oregon has, man. Oregon has that, and they just have to step it up a little bit in terms of talent. But Texas Tech isn't really the I know the transfer portal is probably the biggest thing, but when it comes to like getting like that 5-star first, like they're not like a big place where it's like a desirable destination, right? The only thing that makes them desirable is that money, baby. Is that cheddar cheese that they fly around, and so they're gonna have to open up them pocketbooks a little bit more to get a little bit more talent down there in Lubbock, Texas. But I can see that. So, but yeah, Oregon, shout out to Oregon. Like you said, this is the best. It's the most complete game I think I've seen them play, especially defensively all season long. So, big shout out to them. And then the last game on the slate, and I think this was the best game in my opinion of the day, was of New Year's Day, was Ole Miss punching their ticket into the semifinals and winning a thriller in the rematch over Georgia, 39-34. This game was just a back and forth slugfest between both teams. Trinidad Chambliss, 30 of 46. What can this guy not do? 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, making key pass after key pass after key pass, big play after big play. Keywan Lacey, also 2 touchdowns on the ground, 98 yards. Harrison Wallace was the leading receiver for both teams, 156 yards and the touchdown. Deshaun Stribling had 122 yards as well. And then on the other side, Gunnar Stockton, he was making big plays with his legs, throwing the football. He had 203 yards and a touchdown. Nate Frazier had 86 yards. Gunnar Stockton had 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. But in the end, Georgia just could not get it done. And I think that they are going to be kicking themselves for a long time for not trying to score a touchdown and remaining aggressive when they got down there in the red zone and they had to settle for a field goal, because they, you have to know that how the game is swinging. And Ole Miss has that man back there, quarterback. He's hotter than hot right now in Trinidad Chambliss. And he made the key throw to get them down in the field goal range on 3rd down. And that was pretty much the ball game. I knew the last team to get the ball was going to win this football game. But I thought that Georgia could have done a better job when they got in the red zone and scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. And I remember we talked about the regular season matchup between Ole Miss and Georgia. I previewed it on the site, and Ole Miss did everything right for 3 quarters. And then they took off in the 4th quarter. They learned from their mistakes. Yeah, and you could tell, like, they grew up in this game. They scored 20 points in the 4th quarter. I remember in that regular season matchup, they were held to only 13 yards of total offense, but Georgia's been doing this all season long, Izzy, kind of skating along, teeter-tottering along, and thinking that they can just coast along and get back into the game and find a way to squeak out a victory. They've done it too much. They did it against Tennessee. They did it in Auburn. They did it against Ole Miss, because Ole Miss had them. When you play a team like Georgia, you got to close the door on them, and that's exactly what they did. And the one thing I noticed about Ole Miss, they start quickly. And when they play with a lead, they keep their foot on the gas.
Yeah, and it was a complete, like you said, it's a complete opposite of the first matchup, right? 20 points scored in the fourth quarter. It was a 24-19 game going to the fourth quarter, but seemingly you think Georgia had all the momentum going into that quarter. And Ole Miss just kind of came out, scored a touchdown, went up. They went up 10 points in the fourth quarter. Then Georgia kind of hit them back as well. They tied the game up with that field goal. And then Ole Miss went down, and all they needed was a field goal to win that football game. But gotta give it to Ole Miss. I mean, without Lane Kiffin, I think, I honestly, and I was making jokes too, because I'm a little like, they're saying, "Oh, Joe Judge is managing this game." I texted you, Christian.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh boy, Joe Judge is managing the game, huh? How's this gonna go?" But I think it doesn't matter. I think Trinidad Chambliss is Joe Judge proof, because he was slinging. I mean, he had 3 plays on one drive, I believe, in the fourth quarter, where he scrambled. He was looking like a young Patrick Mahomes out there, the real Pat. Not like guys that try to imitate him, but he was. Hold on. Hit him with it again. He looked like a real Patrick Mahomes. Anyways, but yeah, no, Trinidad Chambliss was making all the plays that he needs to, and I'm glad they got him a 6-year eligibility. I think that he will come back next year. I don't know why he's not rising in draft boards for some reason. I think he's the most. I think outside of Mendoza and Dante Moore, I think he's the best quarterback prospect, in my opinion, in terms of arm talent, in terms of being able to get outside the pocket and run. We'll see, how everything goes by the end of the season. But I think, he's going to have, we'll talk about it coming up. He's going to have a big test. I mean, Georgia's defense was good, but Miami's defense, with those 2 pass rushers,
I'm telling you. But I like
different ball game.
Listen, I like Trinidad Chambliss. I love his command of the offense. Like, he takes what a defense gives him, and he just looks calm, collected. You don't really see that from a lot of college quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he's like a pro out there. I mean, and he's similar to Cam Ward, right? Went to D2, D3 school, Ferris State, came, went to Ole Miss, and is now is balling. So I think that that's and then on the other side for Georgia, I think moving forward, I think Georgia will be right back here next year. In my opinion, they're missing. They're missing that. You talked about it. That man is in the league now, right? They're missing that type of guy on offense, a Brock Bowers type of guy.
Yeah, you could tell.
We talked about it for the last 2 years.
Yeah, because look at their offense with Brock Bowers, and look at their offense as a whole. They're using Brock Bowers in so many different capacities. They're using him on jet sweeps. They're using him on tight end screens. They're lining him wide as a wide receiver, creating mismatches and one-on-ones with the tight end, because there's not a corner, there's not a safety or a linebacker that could cover him. But I look at the red zone inefficiencies, and I'll give Georgia credit. Oscar Delp, he stepped up because a little bit, but he's not Brock Bowers. Let's just call it what it is. Like, if they can find that type of weapon that can kind of open up the passing game and be that safety valve for Gunnar Stockton, Georgia, they're going to be a top 3 team in the country. But this is 2 years in a row, Izzy. They've lost in this game, in the Sugar Bowl, to be exact.
Yeah, and like I said, losing a guy like that, they still haven't, like, it's been 2 years, you haven't replaced that type of guy in your offense, and it shows, like you said, in the red zone, it shows in your offense. If they even had a guy like Oregon has Kenyon Sadiq, if they had a guy like Kenyon Sadiq on their team, I think
that's scary.
That would have been scary for Georgia. Yeah, I think Georgia needs that type of athletic tight end, a guy in the red zone, because that's the way the offense is built. They love to run the football, play
Mm-hmm.
action. They love to run those tight ends on on the on arrow routes and corner routes and stuff like that and underneath routes, and they just don't really have that type of guy, that athletic guy that they can put everywhere on the field. So, but I love that. I mean, I love Zachariah Branch. I mean, he was doing his thing in that game. You can line him up all over the field too, but
Okay.
he's one guy. I mean, they as a whole in the wide receiver room, in my opinion, I think Georgia has a lot left to be desired. I mean, they need more talent and upgrade at the wide receiver position and the tight end position moving forward, going into next year.
And I'll
That
even
is a key thing.
Yeah, and I'll even add one. Whenever I watch Georgia defenses, especially the two units that won back to back national
Yes.
championships, they had pass rushers.
Yeah.
This year, this group wasn't as consistent in getting to the quarterback. I remember
No.
2021, they had Nolan Smith. 2022, they had Jamon Dumas Johnson. Now, like, they didn't really have that guy to get home to the quarterback. They were absolutely phenomenal when it came to stopping the run, but because look at how much time Trinidad had to throw the football, Izzy.
Can you like this defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
This defense, like there's not one guy that like really stands out. Like there's not a guy on this defense where it's like, whoa, that's a can't miss prospect. Like 2 years ago, they had about 4 of those guys.
Yeah, and then you look at the 2021 team: Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Michael Williams. I think was on that team as well. And all those guys are playing on Sundays in the National Football League. Then I remember 2022, they had Trayvon Walker. So they had Malachi Starks a couple years ago. So there really wasn't a guy that really grabbed your attention this year with their defense. Were they good collectively as a unit? Absolutely. But look,
I like Dalen Everett. I like KJ Bolden, but I mean, those guys are DBs. You know what I'm saying? Like we need guys that are gonna get after the quarterback. Like I'm looking at the teams that we're gonna talk about next here coming up in the semifinals. Like Miami, the reason why they're in the semifinals because they have the 2 elite pass rushers in college football, and out of these 4 teams, they have the 2 best pass rushers that can close out games. Pass rushers, having one pass rusher is like having a closer, like having Mariano Rivera, out there closing out the game for you, right? Causing havoc. You have 2 of those in Miami, and Georgia used to have like 3 or 4 of those type of guys. And hopefully they can get back to that. But I think they need to upgrade some key positions. I think pass rushing is up there as well. I'm glad you brought that up for them to kind of get over this hump in the quarterfinal. So, but I mean, last year they went against Notre Dame, who was playing like outstanding football in the second half. They went against and it was Gunnar Stockton's first start as well. So they had some things that were going against them last season in that quarterfinal game. This season they came in there a little bit more prepared. But Ole Miss was just the better team in the rematch. I hate that they had to play a team. You had to play a team twice, and I always hate to say you play a team 3 times. It's even worse. Especially if you got the better of them, right? So, anyways, moving on to the semifinal preview, and there were 4 left in the college football playoff. As we have our first game underway tomorrow between the number 10 Miami Hurricanes and the number 6 Ole Miss Running Rebels in the Fiesta Bowl. That says Fiesta Bowl. It's the Fiesta Bowl. I'm not going to change the graphics either. But in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, this game is I want to say a 6 o'clock start time in this game. I think right now, currently, Miami may be the favorite in this game. I'm just trying to pull up all those stats, but we talked about this a lot. 6:30 p.m. ESPN. Miami's favored by 3.5 points. And I guess just a little bit of a storyline here, right?
Yeah.
You have Ole Miss, going against two elite pass rushers, in which they didn't see last week, or they didn't see, in the first round game against Tulane, right? And then you have Miami, arguably going against maybe the hottest quarterback in the nation, next to like Fernando Mendoza. I think Trinidad Chambers may be hotter than Fernando Mendoza right now. And probably the best quarterback that they may have faced all season.
Yeah. I can't wait to see this one because I want to see if this Miami defense can limit the explosives of this Ole Miss offense. Ole Miss wants to spread the ball around. Deshaun Stribling, Harrison Wallace III, who I think is going to be the X factor for Ole Miss. Kawan Lacey coming out the backfield. Like, you just never know who Trinidad Chambers is going to get the ball to. And is he? I just thought about something too. I mean, you might need the laughing track.
Sound. Yeah, I got you coming
Listen,
up. I got you
do you think Lane Kiffin is kicking himself right now?
And you know what? They're getting the last laugh. Ole Miss is getting the last laugh, guys, because they're in the semifinals. Lane Kiffin, you could have waited. I would have made LSU wait. Shoot, I would have just waited. This is the once in a lifetime opportunity to get your team to a national championship. And I think what's happening right now is I forget who their interim coach is.
Pete Golding.
Pete Golding, my bad. Pete Golding is looking like a serious candidate to be the head coach next year for Ole Miss with this same squad. So I mean, he is cutting his teeth right now and earning it, as so to speak, for Ole Miss and for himself. So I mean, yeah, we're gonna hit it again. We all laughing at you, buddy. Anyways, I think this game. Oh man, like I said, okay. All Carson Beck has to do is exist. I would give the ball to Mark Fletcher about 25, 30 times in this game, right? And I would try to find Malachi Tony as much as possible as well. All Carson Beck has to do is exist in between getting the ball and handing it off to Mark Fletcher like he did last week, and make sure you do not turn the ball over against Ole Miss. I feel like Miami needs to do a better job at running the football and controlling the clock, because you do not want to be in a track meet with this Ole Miss team. You get in a track meet with this Ole Miss team, you just saw what happened to Georgia. They lost. Last team gets the ball, they lost. Okay, right. You don't want to be that team. The one thing that is working for them in their favor is that defense is playing on all cylinders. Something that I talked about last year, right, with Miami. They had these two pass rushers already. They were great already, right? Pass rush wise, right? Getting to the quarterback. But we all talked about, like, man, they couldn't cover a fly on a fly trap in the back end. This, in the second half of the season and right now, getting back what Keontae Scott, who's probably their best DB, is key for them, because now they're shutting things down on the outside. Even though Jeremiah Smith had an amazing game, what they did last week versus Ohio State was they said, okay, Jeremiah Smith, go ahead, he's going to go off. But we're not going to let Carnell Tate go off. We're not going to let anybody else go off for Ohio State. And so that's exactly what they did. They shut down their three-headed monster at wide receiver. They shut down two of those guys and let one guy eat. And we saw how that went. And then they didn't let their true freshman Bo Jackson go off. And then they got to the quarterback. So that's the one thing that's working for Miami right now. For Ole Miss, you just got to keep playing. Yeah, I think you just got to keep riding that hot hand. Keep the ball in Trinidad Chambers' hands as much as possible. Obviously, Kiwan Lacey, if you have to establish the run against Miami in order to kind of get those two wide receivers going. Yeah. And I think they're both equally as talented, right? Deshaun Stribling and Harrison Wallace. So it's kind of hard to key in on both of those guys. But man, Trinidad Chambers is a straw that stirs the drink, right? He's athletic. He can get out the pocket. He can But this is the same type of quarterback that they faced with Marcel Reed in Texas A&M, right? An athletic guy that can get at that can make throws downfield, that can get out the pocket. The only problem is that Marcel Reed was reluctant to do those things. Right, he was reluctant to get out the pocket and run. He was reluctant to extend the plays. Trinidad Chambliss is doing whatever and anything it takes to get to the W. And I think that Miami has to, they have to, trick, confuse Trinidad Chambliss. And I love rushing, and some third down situations, running Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor on one side, stunting them, looping those guys, confusing the tackles. I love that type of stuff. I think Miami gets the W against Ole Miss. Like I said, I think they have the easiest route out of all the teams. I think Ole Miss, out of all the SEC teams, I think they play I think their defense isn't as good as some of the other SEC teams like Georgia, Alabama, which whatever. But I think defensively, I think they can be had, especially in the run game. We saw Nate Frazier was having a really good game against them for Georgia. Gunnar Stockton had 2 rushing touchdowns. Not saying Carson Beck is an excellent runner, but we know they'll use Malachi Tony in jet sweeps as well. They'll give him the ball as well. Miami has 2 good running backs as well outside, with Mark Fletcher and some of those other guys in the depth chart. So I like Miami, and I just like the pass rush that Miami brings. I think they're going to be in Trinidad Chambliss' face all game long. They're going to get him uncomfortable. And I mean, when you have 2 elite pass rushers like that, it's hard to beat and get comfortable offensively.
No, I agree with you. Well, Izzy, you know what's coming. Look, come on, man. You already know what I got. You already know what I got to say. I need you right now on the count.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3.
Shameless plug. Number
1, baby. Yeah. This game comes down to who can establish the tempo of the game in their favor. You get what I'm saying? So if Miami can slow this game down, run the football, hand Mark Fletcher the ball, like Mark Fletcher should finish this game with at least 20 carries, 23, 24 at the most. And if they can do that, I think Miami's going to be in really good shape. Whereas, Ole Miss, they want to speed this game up. They want to turn this into a track meet. I think this is one of those games where it comes down to the fourth quarter. I preview it an hour tomorrow before kickoff. Of course, Izzy will be one of the first to see it. Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout for that at the dailyblitz.blog. You guys don't want to miss that Miami Ole Miss Fiesta Bowl preview dropped by Christian around 5:30 just before kickoff. So you guys don't want to miss that hot content. And then there was the last game, and probably should be the best game in a rematch of an early game this year, where we have number 1 Indiana going up against number 5 Oregon in the Peach Bowl. We know both of these teams played each other earlier in the season. Indiana, this is when Indiana kind of their character arch started to hit, right? We all talk about a character. I love a good character arch in an anime. I love a good character arch in a superhero. This was a early game in Oregon. I think this is probably the 6th game of the season. October game, early October game. Another early October game, right? Georgia, Ole Miss, same thing, right? Yeah. Indiana went into Oregon and beat them 30-20. Mm-hmm. And they really they put the whole nation on notice. They are a legit national championship contender. They are not the same type of team last year. In that game, Fernando Mendoza, 20-31, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 215 yards. Roman Hemby, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. They get the running game going for Indiana. And then Elijah Surratt, he had 8 catches for 121 yards and 1 touchdown to lead everybody. And in that game, Oregon, had made some mistakes. Offensively, Dante Moore threw 2 interceptions, and Indiana was able to capitalize in that game. Christian, how do you see this one playing out in the rematch for Oregon? I know they've had this one circled on their calendar since they lost. They knew they could potentially face Indiana in the college football playoff.
Yeah, you knew that this was going to happen. And Izzy, I got another shameless plug, baby. Let's go. Yeah. On my count.
1, yep, let's go.
2, 3. Shameless plug number
Number two,
two.
baby.
Yeah, I remember that first matchup. And to me, this was the game when Fernando Mendoza introduced himself to the world. He went into Autzen Stadium, tough, hostile environment. You know it just as much as I know it. That's one of the toughest places to play, yet alone come out with a victory in college football. And they went in there and won by 10 points. Fast forward now, both these teams, they're different. I mean, I think Indiana is stronger than what they were at that point. Now, I think they're more complete and they continue to climb the ladder. Whereas Oregon's going to need the same defensive game plan they had against Texas Tech. I think they're going to have to amplify that a little bit in this one. They cannot let Fernando Mendoza sit back in the pocket and throw the football. They got to hit him. They got to jam those wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. And watch out for Brandon Finney. He had himself a hell of a game against Texas Tech, and he's going to have to do the same again against Indiana. I preview this one on Friday before kickoff. Be on the lookout.
Yeah, and then in that game against Indiana, Brandon Finney, he had I believe he had an interception for a touchdown in that game. For 35 yards against Fernando Mendoza. He also had a couple pass deflections. So yeah, that's a kid. That's a guy to look out for. Like Christian said, for Oregon. Previews that game an hour before kickoff, so you guys don't want to miss that. Hot content there by Christian. If I'm gonna go with a winner, this is a tough one.
Yeah,
this is a tough one. I just think Indiana is. They're playing. They're not quite on LSU's level when LSU had Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and that defense that was just all world. I think that LSU team was like probably, if not one of the greatest teams ever to play and get on the gridiron in college football. They can literally play anybody in any era at any time.
Yeah.
But I think Indiana right now is just like they are playing a dominant brand of football that we haven't seen, obviously out of Indiana, for like a long time, right? Hundreds of years. It's been 100 years or so, whatever. They didn't win a bowl game for like freaking, I think it was like 50 years, like 40 years or something crazy. They didn't win a bowl game for a long time. I think it was like 90s or something like that. 20 years, 30 years, something like that. But this Indiana team is probably better than the Ohio State team last year. I think they have better quarterback play. I think they're just as physical defensively. I don't think they have the stars at wide receiver, but I like Omar Cooper Jr. I like Elijah Surratt a lot. I like both of those running backs for Indiana. That offensive line for Indiana, I mean, they are just hog mollies up front. And like I said, I like the running game with Roman Hemby and Kalen Black, right? Those two guys are north-south runners. They get to it. They're physical. And I think if Oregon is going to want to win this game, they're going to have to play. And this is crazy because how. So I coach football as well. And one thing that our head coach used to tell us all the time, tell the kids all the time. And I would kind of reiterate this with the defense as well. Our head coach would be like, we have to play mistake-free football.
Yeah,
mistake-free football. Clean football.
Clean football. It takes you. It's going to take you to the promised land. And look, this is an Indiana defense you don't want to turn the ball over against. I mean, they have Stephen Daly. Hopefully he's back on the field. Mikal Kamara. That's a pass. You talk about pass rushing tandems. That's one that you got to watch as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got to play mistake-free football if you're Oregon. I think Indiana's is playing at a different level. Fernando Mendoza's. I think what do they say? When you become a champion, you become 10% better than what you were. And I think since Fernando Mendoza's kind of got that Heisman Trophy, he's become 10% better than what he was. In my opinion, it showed against Alabama. That whole team was 10% better than what they were at the regular season. They just took it to another notch. I think they take it to another notch against Oregon in the Peach Bowl. So give me Indiana. And that shapes up a Miami-Indiana matchup for me. And I am going to love to see that matchup. I'm gonna love to see that matchup because of the pass rushers that Miami has. It's gonna be a cat and mouse game, chess match game, and a real physical game. And we know what's gonna happen. So that's why I got in the national champions. That's why I got winning this weekend. Indiana on one side and Miami on the other side, and then they'll meet in 11 days after that. So that'll be that. But you guys don't want to miss those, articles that Christian is going to drop tomorrow and Friday. So you make sure to be on the lookout for that. But anyways, that's been a wrap. That's been a show, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe. This has been Prime Sport. This has been College Football Showdown presented by Prime Sports World. Here I'm your host, Israel Rivera. And there goes my man, Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz blog. Everybody, you guys don't want to miss those hot articles that he's going to drop. And then, hey, look, guys, before I sign out, and this might be one of the last ones, these are coming down to the end here for College Football Showdown. Hey, for this year, starting 2026 out with a bang. Hey, in case I miss you in 2025 and in 2026, if you watch this match, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
But look, we still coming back next year with a vengeance in the fall. So this ain't goodbye. It's see you later. And in case I missed you, Izzy threw that thing off the backboard. I came by and dunked it just to say my 4 favorite words. Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy. And we'll come back next week to talk about talk about the games and talk about the college football national championship preview. So you guys don't want to miss that stuff coming up from College Football Showdown. So you guys keep it locked in here. I'll see you guys. Sayonara and good night. Holla at you, Christian. Peace out, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow.